And it's Bancroft, right?
Bancroft.
Bancroft. There we go. Would you like Mr. Bryant Bancroft?
You can call me Alan.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I started.
So good afternoon, Mr. Allen. So I'm here with, my name is Ennis Talley, and I'm here with Ginger High School Center for Leadership and International Relations, and we're partnered here with Venture Richmond. And my first question to you for tonight is, what is NogginLOC, and what or who inspired it?
So NogginLOC is a new helmet restraint system. It's actually a system that uses, it's a mechanical fastening system that goes on any existing helmet or any existing chin strap. It doesn't necessarily need to be football, hockey, field hockey, baseball, or any of the sports that typically use chin straps. It could be on racing helmets for that matter, or bicycle helmets. But what inspired me is 2.5 years ago I was watching football, and I've never played football because I'm a little short for that. But watching college football one Saturday afternoon, I started noticing helmets coming off. And I didn't quite understand why that was happening. So I watched a couple more games, and I started counting 1, 2, 3. I was like, God, why is this happening? Why is it happening? So it must just be college. So I focused the next day on Sunday, watched some of the NFL games, and started switching between the channels. And I started helmet after helmet after helmet after helmet coming off. And that's when I thought, well, maybe there's a problem here. So I spent the next few weeks watching football games, doing some research. I figured, well, maybe they just had cheap fasteners on these particular teams. So the more research I did, and this evolved over a 6-month period, which involved watching lots and lots of football games and watching lots and lots of YouTube videos, and you type in the word helmet coming off on YouTube, and you can sit there for days and watch this. So that's when I sort of decided, if we could put somebody on the moon, how come we can't develop something to keep helmets attached to our athletes? So this was in December of 2011. And so I started working on a prototype, and I thought, well, maybe this is better and this is better. I went through 5 different prototypes, and then I sort of had it sitting around for a while. Then after the first of the year, I started thinking about what I wanted to do about this. I happened to get a Wall Street Journal article, and I'm reading it on Sunday morning or something, and it says, helmets are coming off at an alarming rate, and there's no solution. So I read the article again. So I take the article, and I come downstairs where I had my prototype, and I looked at the helmet, and I read the article, and I'm looking at the 2 of these, and I'm like, well, so I've got to sort of somehow get the word out that, maybe there is a better way. So that's sort of how it started back in December of 2011.
Awesome. Did that strike you as being overwhelming, the number of times a helmet comes off in a football game?
It, to me, more than once was alarming, because just the nature of that sport, it's very, very high impact, as you're well aware, and you inevitably end up on the bottom of a pile. And so the more I watched and the more I read and the more I saw, I was like, man, this just doesn't even make sense. It almost started taking the fun out of watching the game for me, because now I started looking at it from a different perspective, injuries. And right around the end of 2011, there started to get a lot more activity with, you started hearing about concussions, and you started hearing about some very, very famous athletes committing suicide, and in such a way that they were saving their brains so people would research these. And so the timing, I didn't get into this because of all that awareness. I sort of came in sort of by accident, just looking at something that I thought could be done better. And the more I started researching, the more I was like, man, this can't be. And the more I researched, the more I found out that the snaps we use on today's helmets are the same snaps that were used 117 years ago in 1896. I was like, how can that be? So here we are today.
Now, you say it's a fastening system, your NogginLOC here. How does that change the game? How does that change the sport itself? I mean, we have been through nearly a century of use from the regular fastening system. Why now? Why NogginLOC?
Mm-hmm. So what's interesting, as I do research, I find out that the helmet shells, are very, very highly certified and regulated. And I find that the face guards are very, very highly certified and regulated. And the more I found out and researched, well, wait a minute, the chin strap, no one's put a rule on a chin strap. In fact, you could take a piece of string today, if you'd like, and you could string it on a helmet, and you could show up at your local high school next Friday night and say, hey, I got a new chin strap. It's this little thread that I put on this helmet. And they'd be like, okay, I'll try it, because there's no regulation against it. Which, then started to beg in the question, well, how come there wouldn't be hundreds of these new, Alan Bancrofts of the world developing some new widget? And I was actually hoping I would find that, because, my goal at the end of the day was to try and help protect these athletes. If somebody beat me to it, or somebody had a better widget or mousetrap, then great. Make sure people are aware of it and let them start using it. They're not out there. I didn't go down this venture originally to, end up spending, almost full time trying to, promote NogginLOC and test it and get it on the right people and see it, benefit the industry. But, I'm sort of on now a mission because I can see the value. And I'm being told by parents, and I'm being told by players, and I'm being told by coaches, and I'm being told by athletic trainers, article after article and email after email about, hey, thank you for bringing this to me. Last Friday night I go to a Tucker Deep Run high school game where the quarterback on Tucker has NogginLOC and has had it for the last couple of weeks. The last thing I expected on a Friday night was to have a quarterback come up and hug me and say thank you. That told me that, we're hitting home, and now these athletes can go out and participate in the sport that they love and feel a lot more protected.
Extraordinary. So when someone puts the NogginLOC fastener on, can they trust it not to come off?
They can absolutely trust it not to come off. And we'll demonstrate that, and we'll show you how the old fasteners work, and we'll show you how the new fasteners work. And it's not even, our intent wasn't, when we developed NogginLOC, to just get something a little better. We figured, if we're going to make something better, let's get this thing in such a way that, the athlete doesn't have to worry about the helmet coming off. We're not going to solve concussions, but the one thing we can do is make sure we're protecting this athlete the best we can by keeping the helmet as they're designed on the athlete's heads.
Now, statistics-wise, how much would these straps reduce head injury? How much would it reduce the fact of it coming off?
We don't advertise any stats. There are lots of stats on the internet that talk about, how many helmets come off on the youth market in K through 12, or how many come off in the high school market, and how many come off in college, and how many come off at pro. And the more I started looking at these stats and I started graphing them and trying to think, well, what's my marketing strategy going to be? I'm going to walk into somebody and say, hey, look at all these helmets that are coming off. But I actually came to the conclusion there's really only one stat that I needed to talk about, and that was one helmet coming off. Because if that one helmet we can prevent from coming off by using NogginLOC, that's one less potential head injury we may have by that person being in the bottom of the pile, or being hit by a hockey puck, or being hit by a baseball, or falling off their bicycle. I don't mean to get hung up on football per se. It just right now there's so much activity around the football market that we're getting a lot of calls, and we're getting pulled in that direction. Come help us get this on our athletes. How can you help us, Alan? So there's been a lot of activity in that direction. But as far as the stats, one is too many for me.
Excellent. Now, we're here in your basement or your garage. Where are these manufactured at?
So we actually call this the lab. It just so happens to be in my basement, that is for sure. One could say, yeah, all the R&D dollars are going into the project versus rent, so to speak. But so we make them right here. Now, there's times where I set up tables there, and there's times where I have helmets lined up, and there's times where I've got other equipment rolled out of here while we're doing different things. There's sometimes where there's big springs and all sorts of other stuff here, and we're doing crash testing with helmets. But we do it here. I'd love to have the opportunity and the problem where I can't make enough at night after my regular job and after my family activities to keep up with demand. That's the problem I want. And I think with some of the work that you folks are doing and some of the other folks that have been getting the word with NogginLOC out, that's the problem I want to solve.
Now, so you set it up here, and this is your design lab, so to speak. And you've been out there in the news a few times. They've had reports on you from NBC and local news stations like that. Are your straps success? Is the fastener successful? How much have you sold since its creation?
So we've probably given away more than we've sold. We haven't had a single failure reported to us, and we're looking for those because I want a failure so we know how to make it better. I'm sure as time goes on, we're going to improve our products as well. But at this point, we've got helmets in Sweden playing on an equivalent of the NFL league, so we've got adults playing with NogginLOC in Sweden. We sort of focused this last couple months sort of in our backyard where I can go to the football games and I can watch and I can see the impacts and I can see the reaction with the kids and I can see, other kids coming up and looking at the side of the helmet. Hey man, how do I get one of those? Hey, wait, my helmet. Or they say, hey, your helmet just fell off. You better call Alan and get one of these on your helmet. So we've sort of focused a lot more regionally here. We sold some stuff over the internet as well, but I'm sort of glad that, we're in the Chesterfield, Henrico area right now, promoting this pretty heavily. I'm looking now for the national coverage. I want to get people more aware that this is available across the country. I don't want the fact that we can benefit our kids here in our backyard brings me a lot of satisfaction, but I'm also hearing that there's kids' helmets falling off in every other game that's being played across this country and across the world. So I think now is sort of the time where we're looking for some national coverage. I'd love to get on a Dateline or an NBC or whoever. I'd love to get on the Oak Road for sure. Who knows? I mean, and start getting the word out about NogginLOC. So right now it's we've donated and we've given away more than we've sold, just in the intent of getting the market research back, and we haven't had a single failure yet.
And that's awesome to hear. Not a single failure has been reported out of all the ones you've given out. That's amazing.
Not a single thing. We have testimonials from coaches and athletic directors to the same thing. If you were a NogginLOC for 10 years, will we have a failure? Who knows? Well, I'd expect it. I'd like to think that the hardware that we're producing should be reviewed by the athletic trainers all the time. I think as they do with traditional chin straps now. Every year, I think it's the requirement with the high school to replace those chin straps and buckles. I would say do the same thing. But I think, at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that the equipment's working. It does what it intends to do when snaps get old, and it doesn't take long because there's snaps. There's a lot of repetitive motion there. The springs in there, there's a ring. It just starts getting weak, and the weaker it gets, the easier it is to come off. So I don't know how many players or coaches or anyone that's proactive about it has 100 cycles this week. Let's put some new ones on. I don't think that's the modus operandi. But we're looking at lots of cycles, and we certainly expect these helmets to stay on their heads however we get there.
And this creation of yours, I feel, speaking with you now, is more of a passion than it is really a business or an innovative expansion of some type of quest to get paid in certain respects.
It's funny you say that. I've been I've been called out as sort of the fork in the road. The fork in the road is, where's the passion versus where's the business opportunity. The business opportunity is I've spent a lot of money to get where we are. We've got patents applied. We've got 2 different patents applied. We've got patents already going through the United States Patent and Trademark Office. We've paid lots of attorneys to help us get there. We spend a lot of time, throwing helmets around here. I was getting a lot of times dragging my son with the NogginLOC, attached through the driveway to see if it'll come off. I mean, we've done lots and lots of development and spent lots and lots of money that, it'd be nice to know one day we're going to get back. But the more work we done and did, then the more, and the hugs from a quarterback of a high school kid, also know the passion comes in. It's like, wow, we are making a difference to somebody. And that's one. And I want that experience with the second one and the third one and the fourth one, and on we go. So, at the end of the day, this has to be a business, because the only way we're going to get this or get NogginLOC out to the masses is to make it a business. Maybe I'm a softie behind the scenes, and I'd like to see, a helmet stay on that I know would have came off the week before without it. But at the end of the day, it will have to be a business, or we won't be able to expand.
Of course. And when you talk about it being a business, who are you targeting? I mean, you're trying to get this item sold to local football teams, international places. What's your target audience here?
So we went down this quest originally with a couple prototypes, and we went to the helmet manufacturers, because I know the helmet manufacturers can help us get this product out a lot faster than I can alone in my laboratory. Mm-hmm. And there's really 2 major helmet manufacturers, so we got invited to go visit one. Had great meetings there. They were very impressed with what we had. We talked to the second helmet manufacturer, and we love it, but we can't talk to you. Our attorneys won't let us talk to you until your patent issues. And I said, well, I'm going to be out in the marketplace before your patent issues, or before my patent issues. Yeah, we understand that, but just the attorneys won't let us talk to you. But here is my cell phone number. Call me when it issues. So that sort of put a kind of a fork in the road that I didn't really plan on doing. I did not plan on doing the missionary selling and knocking on the doors of the high school people and begging the newspapers to come do articles and all that jazz. But what I figured out is the longer I waited for the helmet manufacturers to come to me, helmet was coming off, helmet was coming off, helmet was coming off, helmet was coming off, and on and on. And I didn't even want to watch television, because if I turned it on and watched the game, helmet was coming off, and the helmet was coming off. Now I can at least turn on the game and say, yeah, that one came off, but I'm coming to get you. We will eventually get a fastener system on your helmet, Mr. Whoever it is, or Mrs. Whoever it is, that'll keep that helmet on your head. So I feel a little bit better about being proactive, pushing NogginLOC out, as my original intent was to pull people to NogginLOC. So as far as the target audience, right now it's anybody that uses a chin strap to attach their helmet. I don't care if you're a race car driver. I don't care if you're a bicyclist. I don't care if you're a football player. I don't care if you're a hockey player. And on it goes. And there's lots of other reasons that you could use NogginLOC on lots of other industry things, but right now we're focusing on the helmet safety.
Excellent. Now, it's always said the devil is in the details. How can people purchase these straps, and how much does it cost? Is it affordable?
We don't actually sell the strap, so it's really the fasteners that attach to the straps or to the helmets. Right now, you can get on our website, shop.NogginLOC.com, and you can buy them there. A set or a kit to do a complete helmet is $44.95. We've looked at trying to be really, really sensitive to the high school market and some of the markets that may not have a big equipment budget. So we're sort of taking that on a case-by-case basis. As we say, passion versus business. My passion says, let's give it to them. And my business says, how much more are we going to give away? I mean, we've spent a lot of money already. So I think there's a happy medium there. I'm not expecting any NFL team to come to us and say, oh, would you give us a deal? No, you guys have plenty of money. Buy the equipment, and we can help offset some of the stuff we're doing with the youth markets. But so it's for sale. And I mean, obviously, the more we sell, the more competitive we're going to be able to be to some of the teams longer term. But right now, you order it on the internet.
Excellent. When you developed your first NogginLOC system, the fastening system, and then subsequently when you sold it, what was your feeling behind that? I mean, who was your first buyer, and for what reason?
So we made several prototypes, and we did a lot of experimenting with that. I mean, we started December of 2011. This is pretty much a full-time venture. And we're at the 5th prototype now, which I'd say is now, pretty much what we're going to launch and leave it that way for a while. But the first order, so when we figured out that the helmet manufacturer was going to drag their feet, we said, okay, now what? Well, I'm going to go sell it myself. All right, so I went and sold it myself. So what's that mean? Oh, well, how am I going to do that? Well, I guess I better get a website. Okay, let's go spend some more money and put a website up. So we put a website up. Oh, okay, well, so you still can't buy anything. Oh, so let me go build a shopping cart. So I went and built a shopping cart so people could find us. Okay, well, how do we tell people to find us? Oh, now we have to do a lot of marketing. Hopefully we'll get some local press and get people sort of looking at the website. Well, gee, how are they going to pay for it? They're going to send checks, PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, so we got to be sensitive to all the costs that are associated with that. So right now, you can on our website, you can pay with PayPal. Pretty safe and secure. Pretty simple. But the first order actually came from Europe, of all places. Wow. And on my website, we say, hey, look, if you're looking to get on sort of some really innovative type of safety equipment technology, and you're willing to sort of develop with us and give us feedback, not develop so much, but be open to feedback, this is the place you want to buy something. So I got a guy from Sweden, got on our website, wrote an email, said, I've been searching for something. I bought a brand new helmet from company XYZ, top of line helmet, a $400 helmet, and he happens to be a big linebacker. And he said, my helmet keeps coming off, so I got an internet, I got a family, I got kids, it seems like, why is this happening? So he got on the internet, just started searching for helmets coming off, and so you get all the videos, but then he said he ran across this little link, because we were just new, NogginLOC, what's that? So he starts researching, oh my god, this thing will keep my helmet on, because we have some demonstrations about how that happens. And he sent an email, says, I want your first prototype or production unit available. And this was probably 2 months before I was actually ready to launch it and say, here's the stuff. So I communicated back and forth with this gentleman for 2 or 3 times before we actually got a kit that because I wanted to know what helmet he had. I went out and bought the helmet that he has here. I put NogginLOC on it to make sure I knew exactly what was going to happen. Because now we're dealing pretty far away. I can't just drive down the street and fit this thing for you. And he ordered it, paid for it. I shipped it. 10-day snail mail to Sweden. He put on his helmet, they have a sort of a different NFL season than we do, equivalent NFL. They play like March through July, then they take a break, and then they pick back up in late October, so they're back in it now. And I never once got a failure report from him. I got weekly reports about how it did and how he liked it. And I sent him some other more production parts for the beginning of this next season. But I haven't had a failure report from him either. So that was, kind of like, hey, someone's actually going to buy this? All right, maybe we can make some money someday. But so that was the first order that came through, the beginning of this year.
And we talk about this NogginLOC fastening system being off the ground now. You're in the door-to-door marketing here. Mm-hmm. You're still applying for your patent in the U.S. Patent Office. Are we there? Are we there to You said the lawyers were steadfast at the big helmet company because the patent hasn't been finished. When you get that finished, where do you think you'll be?
So let me just touch on the patent process. That is not for the faint at heart, let me tell you, because I'm a holder of 10 United States patents currently. We have 2 applied for NogginLOC. We applied for our provisional patent in March of 2012. The provisional patent allows you sort of a year to really go show it to somebody. Hey, I developed this thing, and I'm going to show it to you, and you can't steal it from me because I already have a provisional. So it gives sort of a consumer the opportunity, before you start spending a lot of money, you spend a little bit of money, is this going to go somewhere? Nah, that thing will never work. No one's ever going to want to buy that. But the more people I talked to, the more I got excited. I actually presented this to a former Hall of Fame football player, Ken Harvey, played for the Washington Redskins. Went up to D.C., met with him 3 different occasions, showed him NogginLOC. He says, where was that 14 years ago when I played football? So he's certainly one of our biggest advocates and testimony on our website to that end. So as time went on, we started showing more people like, yeah, you need to move forward, Okay. So we applied, we didn't wait the year. In November of 2012, we actually submitted all our paperwork. That process is usually 3 years. That's why I could tell one of the helmet manufacturers, we're going to be in the market if you don't do something now. Oh, we can't do anything now. Okay, that's fine. Now what's interesting is we got our first action in late July, early August of this year. Unheard of. 6 months after we submitted, it got enough attention somewhere up in the Patent and Trademark Office that, hey, look, it's not a cure for cancer, it's not a cure for anything else, but somebody got this type of device across their desk and said, hey, look, we can't wait 3 years if this thing can really do what they say it can do. So we got a first action notice back. The interesting thing about the first action notice back from the patent market was like 6 months later, my attorney calls me jumping up and down, hey, well, the patent office has a question. Oh my God, that's like 3 years early. Well, what's the question? Well, when we wrote the patent, there's this things called claims. And claims are what it means. We claim this, we claim that, we claim this. So we had 21 claims. The Patent and Trademark Office came back and said, hey, we feel that of these 21 claims, you have actually 5 different patents in here. We've broke them into buckets for you, Mr. Bancroft. You pick which one you want to battle with right now. So I was like, oh, wow. So they really think there's a lot more technology in here than even we submitted. Certainly we want to protect this wide. I don't want to have to, everyone can write a patent that gives you this much exclusivity, but who cares, right? I want to be able to protect it so we can control what's going on and we can control what goes out in the market. So when we wrote a patent like this, we're like, hey, we think you have 5 patents in here. Pick which one you want to work on now. So we did a quick response within a week, wrote back and said, we're going to focus on this. 3 weeks later, we got the next response. Okay, based on what you said, we need this, and this from you. So we're actually really, really excited. Now, the this, and this means we're putting some marketing stuff together and some testimonials and some other stuff that the Patent and Trademark Office wants to look at. I look at this now having spent a lot of money going down the road. One could say, I could just go out to market and just keep selling this stuff and not even fool around with the patent. Somebody's going to copy it, they're going to copy it, and off they go. So if we get it protected, that's great. While we're even selling now and while we're in the patenting process, nobody can really steal it and do anything. So we're basically doing both. We're excited that we got early response from the patent office.